Welcome back to From the Shed End. Welcome back, episode 154 of the podcast. Theo, how you doing, first of all?
I'm good. I'm really good. I always talk about the weather when I kind of you ask me how I'm doing, but today in London it's 16 degrees and I went to the plant on my lunch break, and I actually, for the first time all year, I felt a bit of warmth and like rays of sunshine hit my skin, which felt nice. Like I'm in desperate need of a bit of vitamin C, I felt.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think when we wrap this up, and if I don't get any other kind of customer emails, I might take my laptop into the garden and just work from there. It's that type of weather. So yeah, hopefully it does carry on into the weekend, because I've got a long run planned tomorrow morning, and it'll be nice to have a bit of sunshine while I do that. But yeah, how are you doing?
I'm good. Obviously for you, the countdown for the marathon starts now. Not long to go. When is the actual date for the marathon? I always forget.
Yeah, 6th of April. So it's literally
so it's literally
exactly in a month.
Wow.
Yeah, I had my last BA yesterday.
Yeah,
try my best now to cut it out of my diet until the finish line. When someone hands me a beer, then I'll happily accept it. Then
I was about to say that first pint is going to taste amazing if you can do it as well. I mean, I know you can. I mean, you've got the willpower, but it's going to taste amazing when you run over that finish line. And obviously, it's in Brazil, Sao Paulo.
It's in Sao Paulo, yeah. So I'll have a nice ice.
You're going to need it.
It's going to be hot out there. I think I saw it starts at 6 a.m. the race.
Yeah. Okay.
Because just to avoid
the temperatures,
the heat. Yeah. So it's going to be a rough start to the morning. But yeah, if I can have an ice cold Brahma straight after, that'll be nice.
Yeah. But it'd be good. It's good. It's the weekend as well. It's not as sunny as it is down south. We sound like weathermen, don't we? But it is really cloudy up here this today, and I think this weekend it was meant to be as hot as Barcelona. So I don't know if that's going to happen in Liverpool. If it does, then great. I'll take it. I might throw some shorts on. You never know. We'll have to see how that pans out. But before we get into the episode, as always, please subscribe. My words have not fell on deaf ears. We have hit 600 subscribers. I think we're on 607 subscribers, something like that. So we appreciate all the new subscribers in the last 2 weeks. We are now on the road to 700 subscribers. So if you can get us to 700 subscribers in the short space of 2 weeks, that'd be brilliant. We appreciate all that. The Linktree link is also in the description as well. So make sure you hit that Linktree link for all our social accounts. But Theo, Copenhagen. It was a tough watch, I'll be honest. 2-1. We got the victory. We could take the small victory and a small lead into the second leg at Stamford Bridge next week, but it was a hard watch. I know you saw bits of it, but it was a hard game to watch. What was your thoughts on the victory yesterday?
I think we kind of called it in the previous recording. It was going to be a tough game, regardless of the team we field away to Copenhagen. Tough atmosphere, tough team to play against. And I did actually get my prediction right for once. I think I had 2-1 to Chelsea. And I knew they'd just be the one goal in it between the two teams. A victory, that's important. 1 goal lead going into Stamford Bridge next Thursday. And we do have a good home record. So I do think we'll have enough to kind of overcome them again in the second leg. But like you said, it was a tough watch. It was an enjoyable watch, particularly that first half. I felt like we had our backs against the wall at one point and they were really pressing us. I think the substitutions at halftime made a difference. Enzo coming on, and Nkunku coming on, and Colwell coming on. Good to see a few players get some minutes that we hadn't really seen much of recently, like Badiashile, who's back from his injury. Rasca's hinted now that Fofana and Lavia are back in training and will also make a return soon. I did feel like the goals, they were good goals, but that Reece James goal, as good as it was, I listened to your recording and I agree with you. I think the keeper should have done better. Yeah. It's one of those ones where it's not hit with that much pace. And if the keeper gets to the ground a bit quicker and really stretches his body, he can get a hand for that, and saves it. So I think a Premier League keeper is saving that, in my opinion. Nevertheless, take nothing away from the goal. It was good. And you do want to see that from Reece James a bit more. You do want to see him shoot, especially now Maresca's hinting that he wants to play in the midfield. I'm not sure you've seen the kind of quotes that he's been saying, Maresca, about how last summer he sent him a video or
on holiday
mentioning while he was on holiday, mentioning that he sees him more as a midfielder and he's got that range to kind of shoot. And we do have to remember, even before he cemented himself as a Chelsea right back, he was playing midfield for Wigan in the Championship when he went out there. So he's definitely adapted quite well to playing in midfield or being an inverted fullback. But the other person I feel is still struggling is Malo Gusto. I feel like he's still struggling to be kind of that inverted fullback that Maresca wants him to be. And then, unfortunately for him, he went off injured. I think Maresca did kind of reassure us that he will be back for Sunday. So it was maybe just a bit of muscle cramp or a bit of fatigue that played a part in him coming off. Then Enzo gets a good finish, really good pressing from us to regain the ball near the corner flag, and kind of Tyrique George, good assist for Enzo Fernandez. But in typical Chelsea fashion, we just concede a sloppy goal, easy ball in the box, which I think Cole will need to be better with to try to get ahead to that and clear it out.
Yeah.
We concede, and that's typical us. We just score these goals, but we just can't keep a clean sheet or kind of have a comfortable win. Like I said, I still think we've got enough in us to kind of overcome them in the second leg, but a 2-0 win would have been a much more comfortable watch next week than a 2-1 score in aggregate.
Yeah, it was, yeah, I agree with you. And I wanted to point out, because I think Copenhagen, we said it was going to be a really difficult ground to go to. And I think the fans did make it as hostile as possible for us. It was, they were almost like the 12th man. And credit to Copenhagen, they started the game really well. I wouldn't say I was nervous going into it, after the game kicked off, because we kind of sat back. We weren't able to break down their defensive line, which was really good from them. But again, that first half, it was a slog to watch. There was no shots on target from us. I did feel sorry for the young kid, Moeka, I think his name is up front.
Maheka
and Tyrique George. I felt sorry for them because they weren't really able to affect the game. I know Tyrique George did in the second half, but in that first half, I did feel sorry for him because he was up front on his own almost and didn't really, obviously it's an easy target, isn't it, to take off the youngster. And maybe that was the plan all along, to give him the minutes, and then, you bring on the big boys in the second half. But look, Reece James for me has got almost a second lifeline now here, hasn't he? I think, you think about how much we've said he's one of the best right backs in the world, and he's up there with Trent, Kyle Walker at times as well, in terms of defending and getting forward and creating chances for Chelsea. But this new role in midfield, which Enzo Maresca looks seen hell-bent to be playing him there, do you think it's going to suit Reece James, and can you see him potentially playing a bit more central in that role? Because he didn't really invert yesterday. He was almost stationed in the midfield. So do you reckon that's going to be the new Reece James, the best way to keep him fit for the remainder of his career at Chelsea?
Yeah, potentially. I think what we saw, the main attributes of Reece James during the kind of Tuchel days was when he was playing as that right wing back, bombing up and down the pitch, putting those dangerous balls into the box. But unfortunately, it really did expose him to a lot of injuries, given that he always had to be kind of running down the flanks. This more central position, which, like you said, it wasn't so much inverted yesterday. It was more he's kind of started and cemented himself as one of the midfielders. Could be favourable for him. It probably means less running, and he does have the attributes to kind of perform there. He's got really good passing ability. He's also very physical as well. And sometimes in midfield, you have to have a bit of a physical presence to bully players off the ball and to intercept those balls. So it could be a good solution, potentially, until Lavia's back fit. That being said, I still don't trust Malo Gusto fully at right back this season, at least.
Well, it leaves us short as well, doesn't it? I think that was my worry. Yeah,
it leaves us short. So whether maybe Maresca has a long-term plan for Achampong potentially to be the new kind of right back. But yeah, I definitely feel like it is an option, especially when we wait for Lavia to regain his fitness, and we want to maybe give one of Enzo or Caicedo a bit of a break with these Conference League games that are going to come thick and fast now.
Yeah.
And I do agree with what you said about the Copenhagen fans making it hostile. I think I saw that they arrived in the stadium an hour before kickoff to almost intimidate the Chelsea players during their warm-ups and when they came on the pitch. And yeah, I also agree with what you said about Chimera Maheka. I did feel a bit bad for him. Very isolated, wasn't really getting the support. And a tough game to make his European debut in, or first European start. I saw this on Opta Joe on Twitter. At 17 years and 137 days, Chimera Maheka is the youngest player to start for Chelsea in a major European competition, surpassing Joel Kittim-Marika, who was 17 years and 196 days, who started against Apoel Tel Aviv in the UEFA Cup in October 2001. And he also came off the bench against Southampton. And this is when I wanted to ask you a bit of a trivia question, because he came on against Southampton, was it last week? and he became the fourth youngest player to appear for Chelsea. He was 17 and 128 days. Can you name the 3 players that were younger to appear for Chelsea before Maheka?
Can I just say before I answer this, I've got a massive migraine. So my brain clearly isn't going to be functioning properly today, but I would probably say, this is going to be tough. I feel like Jody Morris might be in there, but
two of them made their debut, those appearances under, I think, Conte.
Surely John Terry. Is John Terry in there?
John Terry is not on there. No.
Jody Morris?
Jody Morris is one of them. Yeah.
Jody Morris is one. I'm trying to think of that age, that sort of group of players that was almost the first group to come through from the youth team. And I think Jody Morris would definitely be in there. So that's one. I'm going to say
the other two it was Conte, Sarri kind of period when they made their appearances.
I'm going to say like Tammy Abraham.
Not quite Tammy Abraham, no. One's English and one is Welsh, if that's a bit of a hint.
Welsh? Welsh?
Yeah. When I say the name, you're gonna have.
I know, yeah. Honestly, my brain isn't functioning today. English, so I'm gonna.
We sold him to Leeds now.
Leeds. Ethan Ampadu. I'm trying to think of the Welsh players that have played for Chelsea, but yeah, Ethan Ampadu. And English is the last one you said.
English, currently in the Premier League at another club. He's a winger.
Hudson-Odoi,
yeah. Jody Morris, Hudson-Odoi, and Ethan Ampadu.
I knew it was
younger.
Do you know, that's annoyed me because I knew it was going to be from the Jody era. I knew it was going to be that sort of group of players. And I remember, obviously, that time when it was like Conte and then the Lampard era where he was sort of giving players their debuts as well. Well, in that sort of that span of time, like the Callum Hudson-Odois, the Loftus-Cheeks, those kind of players. I just can't remember which one of them was the youngest. So yeah, that's interesting. That is really interesting.
Yeah, but it's like you say, a tough game for Maheka to make his European debut, and I would much probably started him on the Shamrock games or potentially Astana, but yeah, away to Copenhagen to make a European debut. I think one thing it does, though, it does show that Maresca, albeit maybe his hand was forced based on the injuries that we've got, has trust in. Because I mean, Neto was on the bench. You could have played him. You know, you could have brought on any of those players that he had on the bench or even to start the game. But to put your trust in one of the youngsters, it does show that Maresca is slowly, maybe, although his hands being forced, he is being given opportunities to play some of these players now. So yeah, I mean, I at the time yesterday when I was watching the game, I did feel sorry for him. But today when I woke up, I probably thought, actually, that's probably one of the best times to give him some minutes, whether that's, because you can't really play him against Leicester in the Premier League. You need to put out your strongest squad. You're not going to play him against Liverpool, United, Arsenal. When is the opportunity to give him? So yeah, maybe that is the time. But it could have gone downhill had we gone 2-0, 3-0 down in that first half. And then, you're sort of looking at him as the scapegoat for not scoring goals or not creating chances or not being in the right position to take those chances. So it worked out, I think, in the end for us and for the player. But yeah, it is a bit concerning that we're having to play a youth player in the Conference League for me. Was you surprised that Maresca didn't go as strong in terms of the lineup as he potentially should have? I mean, we just spoke about Malo Gusto, who's picked up. I mean, it was a really weird injury because he went down initially in the game. Which I think was from a challenge, but then he went down, the cross came in from one of the Copenhagen players, and you could see it almost jolted his foot a little bit. It almost like it moved the bone in his foot somehow. By what it sounds like, that isn't the case, but Gusto hasn't really been in good form, so it was a bit of a surprise to see him play. I thought Cucurella would have started the game. I think we both had him in our predicted lineups. The plan, I think, was always to bring Caicedo, Enzo, give them 45 minutes each. But was you surprised to see Neto, for instance, on the bench, someone that we thought was going to be featuring in the game? Not really, actually, because I think in both our predicted lineups we didn't have Neto, did we?
Yeah.
I think he's now that Gui and Jackson's injured, he's our logical number 9 or 9, if you want to call it. And I think he's probably the most important player you want to kind of wrap up in Cross and Wall before the Leicester game, because we're so short on other options that can play number 9, and Nkunku false 9 hasn't worked out. We haven't really experimented with Palmer, and his goals and assists playing in that position have been quite good. So I think I'm happy that he didn't start and keep him ready for Leicester on Sunday. I think Cucurella not playing left back is a bit of a surprise, but then again he's played so much football this season. I think he's almost played like every minute of every single game especially since Vega's now been loaned out to Juventus. So that's a bit of a surprise. And we have been a bit harsh on Malo Gusto, critical of his performances this season, only because he set the bar so high last year.
Yeah.
He was covering for Reece James, but we do forget he is only 20 or 21, I think. He is young. He is really young. So
it's a good point.
And it's
a good point.
This is only his second Premier League season, so I'm sure he'll continue to grow and become a top class player. But I think this season's all about getting used to this new system he needs to play under Maresca.
No, it is a good point. And I said the same about Levi Colwell a couple of weeks ago. I think when we beat Southampton, and I think it was the day before his birthday, he scored the goal. And I was thinking he's only 22 years of age. We forget how young some of these players are. We're expecting them to be fully, developed top range defenders, and they're clearly not going to be at that age. They're still having to mature and understand what Maresca wants from them. So there is a lot of growth there. But like you said, I think when you set your benchmark so high, similar to Cole Palmer, we kind of expect that benchmark to be met every season. And if it isn't, then we do, as fans, we are going to raise questions about that. So I do want to just quickly, before we move on, talk about Tyrique George. 4 assists now for Chelsea this season. I think Enzo scored his 5th goal this season for Chelsea. He looks a good player. He looks like someone we can bring into this. I said it yesterday in the match review that we can bring him into the squad now, and we can sort of maybe trust him if one of the players needs to drop out that front three, give them a bit of rest or whatever the case is. He looks like someone that we can bring on and hopefully do a job for us. He looks like he can get into the right areas. What's your thoughts on Tyrique George so far?
I really like the look of him. He looks really sharp. He's also, I mean, we've had a lot of talented wingers in the past. I look at, likes of Loftus-Cheek, of Mason Mount, even Hudson-Odoi. But something about George where he doesn't have this kind of like big head or ego. I think he's just happy to get on the pitch, plays football. And like you said, every time he's played, he's almost taken his chance. And there's this Opta stat, which is Tyrique George is averaging 0.61 assists per 90 minutes for Chelsea this season, almost amongst all Premier League players to have featured in 10 plus matches across all competitions. Only Bukayo Saka holds a higher average of 0.64. So he's clearly a really good provider as well. I would love to see him get his first goal because I think that would unlock a bit more confidence to maybe shoot a bit more and kind of take on defenders. But I think he's a good talent and definitely want to kind of get involved in the remaining matches, especially if as Madueke is out injured, Sancho still not really impressing, Neto being shifted more to as a striker now. It's a chance for Madrid suspended. It's a chance for Tyrique George to prove himself. I do worry though that similarly to Maheka, we're only doing this to put these youngsters in the shop window to eventually just sell them on for pure profit, like we call it. And that does worry me for Tyrique George, for Maheka, for Champong. We did see it with Harvey Vale when he got sold in January. So let's see what happens. But for now, he just needs to continue and when he gets the chance, continue to impress as well.
Yeah, agreed. We haven't mentioned Robert Sanchez. I don't know if we need to. Overall, I thought we had a decent enough game. But I think the goal, I think it was a soft foul to give away in the first place. It was a really well-worked free kick from Copenhagen. I'm trying to think who scored the goal for them.
Pereira?
Pereira. Gabriel Pereira, I think. I might make that up. But I feel like Cole has to do a little bit. I think he misjudges the flight of the ball.
Yeah.
And I think he's almost a bit not sure where he is, what time he needs to jump to try and clear this ball. And Sanchez almost saves the ball whilst he's in the back of his own net, which is a bit weird. So, I mean, look, he's a cup competition goalkeeper now. It looks like he's going to be continuing to play that role until Maresca says otherwise. Any concerns from you going into that second leg?
For Sanchez or just overall?
Just overall, really. But yeah, Sanchez, both.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a cup competition keeper and we get to the final, there's going to be a lot of games that Sanchez is going to feature in the Conference League.
Yeah.
And we are kind of the favourites. We're going to be playing against a lot of underdog teams that have got nothing to lose. They're going to be, bringing the game to us. So there's going to be a lot of reliance on Robert Sanchez to bail us out at times. But yeah, I am confident we can get past Copenhagen. I'm also confident that looking at some of the opposition, or we spoke about kind of our road to the final in the previous recording, and we should be beating, no disrespect to any of these teams, but we should be beating every single one of them, regardless of if our team is managed by Maresca, Potter, Sarri, whoever. These are teams that we should be beating. And a few shock results yesterday. Panathinaikos beating Fiorentina. I think Legia Warsaw lost to Molde.
Sociedad and United as well in the Europa League. I know it's in the Europa League, but they were across the whole European competition. There was loads of different ones that were just a bit.
Is that really a shock though? United drawing with Sociedad? Not really anymore, is it?
Probably not in form, but and Tottenham lost as well, so that's always a bonus, isn't it? I don't think we need to worry, do we, in terms of expectations?
Yeah, but it's going to be a good game next week. I think Copenhagen, now trailing, are definitely going to take more risks. If they score an early goal, it's going to be a lot nervy for us. So hopefully we can get an early goal and kind of reduce the nerves. But then again, in Chelsea kind of fashion this season, when we do score an early goal, we do tend to also concede. So hopefully it's a question of us killing the game off early, maybe getting 2 goals before half time, then maybe bringing on a couple more of these youngsters in the second half.
Yeah, agreed. Right, let's move on. Leicester at home. They're in a rough patch right now. 19th in the table, 5 points from safety, and they've lost the last 4 league games. What do you take from that in terms of our match on Sunday, 2 p.m?
I mean, it's getting to this awkward stage now in March, April, where these teams that are fighting relegation might just have that one last little motivation to really push for a great escape. And we did see Leicester do this, I think, the season before they won the Premier League.
Yeah.
I think it was Nigel Pearson. Was he the coach? I think that's his name. When he got them out of the relegation zone, and they went on this really good run of form in the last few months. So yeah, I still feel like they lack so much quality in their team. It's kind of this mismatch of kind of other Premier League rejects. I don't disrespect them, but Winks and Ollie Skip, I don't think are good enough now to be Premier League starters. That being said, it's still similar to when we did the Southampton preview. We can't take any of these teams, now for granted. I mean, we can't underestimate them as well. I think Ruud van Nistelrooy is a good coach, very smart coach as well. I know things haven't really gone to plan, and they haven't maybe had the new the managerial bounce they wanted to after sacking Steve Cooper. But yeah, it's going to be a tough game. I think we've got a decent record against Leicester at home, if I'm not mistaken. I think our last, top of my head, I think last time we lost to them was December 2018 at Stamford Bridge. I think Jamie Vardy scored the 1 goal. I need to double check that after. But yeah, we've got a decent record against them. Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. Hopefully, I'm sure Maresca probably wanted to rest guys like Cucurella and not have to bring on Enzo in the second half straight away and give him 45 minutes. So maybe there'll be a bit of fatigue. But yeah, it's going to be a good one to go to, 2 p.m. Sunday. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, it should be a good game. And I take your points about Ruud van Nistelrooy, but they've shipped 12 goals in their last 4 games, which I think is the most conceded on the road by any Premier League club this season. So I'm not, and Copenhagen was a tough game, but this game should not be a tough game. To me, this is the one that you can go out and just almost shackle the reins a little bit and just say, look, go and enjoy your football a little bit out there, but still putting a solid performance to the team. Because I think the only downside I will say, I want to say this very quietly, is I'm sure Jamie Vardy just loves to score against big teams. I'm sure he loves to score against big teams. But I think they have, is it Buono Nato? I think he's suspended for this game. So he's a really good player. I like the look of him. He's a really good player, but I'm not concerned too much by it, which is probably not the best approach to have going into a game where ideally we have to win to keep that top 4 momentum going. But yeah, I think last night's victory would have helped, confidence in the squad. I think it would have done the world of wonders. We've had a really bad, couple of weeks where we've been up and down. We've had some half decent results, but then we've had some really bad, shocking results at the same time. So I think going into a game off the back of a win is always good. We've rested some of the players like Neto. I know Nkunku came on for a little bit, or for the best part of the second half, but you'd expect him to maybe feature at some point tomorrow on Sunday. So yeah, I think it'd be a decent game. I really do. I think we have to win.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a really good home record. I think our last 3 Premier League games have all been wins at Stamford Bridge, Southampton, West Ham and Wolves. And if we can't beat a team in the relegation zone, then it's going to be really tough when we start taking on Arsenal, Spurs, which I think are our next 2 Premier League games after this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a must win, and hopefully we can get 3 points. And I hate to be that person, but sometimes I'm looking at the Premier League table right now, already adding the 3 points that we're going to get from Sunday. It's very arrogant on my behalf, but that's kind of how I feel. And like you said, I think the Copenhagen game yesterday is arguably a lot harder than Sunday's game, but we should kind of still go into it with the same level of respect and kind of way of preparing for the game as well.
I just want to give you, because obviously it always throws me off, because Enzo Maresca's press conferences are like the weather in England, because they just happen whenever they want. So it looks like he's having his press conference now, or it's happened before. So he's just kind of give some flavour to the podcast about what's been discussed. So he was asked around risking Moises Caicedo against Leicester, despite being 1 booking away from a suspension, something I picked up on last week's video. If he does pick up a yellow card, he'll be banned for the next 2 games, which is Arsenal and Tottenham. Massive games. Just before we move on, your thoughts on that? Can we risk him? Maresca says no, we have to play him. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think, remember, like earlier in the season, we did who's our most important player. I think you had Cucurella, I had Caicedo.
Yeah.
I think other way around. And it's one of those, every game now is a must win. We must collect 3 points. We're in no situation to rotate our team in the Premier League. So yeah, even though he's 1 booking away from a suspension and would miss the Arsenal game, I still think you have to start him. If the game's getting a bit cagey and we are kind of making these silly fouls, then maybe look to bring him off. I also saw that Maresca's mentioned that Lavia is back in training and could be fit for tomorrow. So maybe he can be on the bench and kind of come in should Caicedo need to be taken off at the maybe 55th or 60th minute mark.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive question mark over him, isn't there? But let's just read some other stats here that I've got. Obviously, I mentioned before that I was using a bit of AI. Be ashamed not to put it into the podcast. But it says here that Leicester have lost their last 4 games, conceding 12, which I read out earlier. Says Chelsea have been strong at Stamford Bridge, highlighting a recent 4-0 win over Southampton. They've also suggested that there was a prime position to capitalise on Leicester's weakness. In the head-to-heads, in their last meeting in December, Chelsea beat Leicester 2-1. So that's decent as well. As I said before, Buonanotte is suspended. Ricardo Pereira. Fatawa is out for Leicester. We also obviously know, as you said, Lavia coming back from that injury. Out around Malo Gusto, I don't think he starts. We're going to do our predicted lineups in a minute. But this is a game we can't lose. We just can't lose this game.
No, we can't. And like you said, around listing off those statistics, Leicester are on a kind of this rut of form now. We need to capitalise on this. I think conceded 12, lost their last 4. There'd be unless we get like a red card or something, and I'm going to think, shit, like, here we go. It might be a difficult game now. But other than that, it's a must win. There's no excuses not to be winning this one on Sunday.
Yeah, agreed. Let's do, as always, the best part of the podcast for me. Let's do our predicted lineups for the game. Now, I think we're safe to say we will not see Mr. Robert Sanchez in goal.
No.
So I think we're going to go with our main man, Jorgensen, in goal. I think that's the one area of the team that we can. I feel like using one of these old school kits today. I don't know why.
We'll do that for the Chelsea drum. The Chelsea draft video. Yeah.
So yeah, just in terms of your back line, who would you go with?
Yeah, Jurgensen in goal, and I don't want to kind of reinvent the wheel too much and change things that have been working fairly well. So I'll go with Cucurella, Colwill, Tosin, and Reece James as my back four.
So Reece James at right back.
Yeah, I think, like we said, we can't afford not to play Caicedo despite the potential suspension, and Enzo having been rested for the first half of the Copenhagen game makes me think that he will start this one.
No Chalobah?
So I think, I think Tosin's, he's been good. I think he's quite underrated as a player. I know he gets a stick from some people, but I think he's solid.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of fancy maybe Tosin with his kind of physical strength, maybe to height as well, to be able to deal with Jamie Vardy as well.
Yeah, I agree. I will say, yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah, I will go with that. I mean, it's interesting now. We've got options on the bench again. We've got defensive options with Badiashile. We know Fofana was on the bench for Southampton as well. Chalobah. So we've gone from having lack of central defenders to too many central defenders at Chelsea again, which is nice. Midfield. I'm guessing that's the same too. The dynamic duo in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a shame because I did feel like Reece James did a decent job in midfield against Copenhagen, actually more than a decent job. But I think if these two are fit, they played a half each against, or 45 minutes each against Copenhagen. I'm just really, really hoping Caicedo doesn't get booked. I'm almost like crossing my fingers right now because we need him against Arsenal.
Yeah. He's got to have the discipline. I mean, I said it on the video last week. I think the fact he's got this many cards at this point in the season tells us that, yes, he loves to play on the edge. And yes, yesterday he was quite lucky because he won the ball, but it was a really sort of risky challenge to make. And I think the ref was looking to book him, but he didn't. But just the fact that he's playing like on the edge so much, we need him. He's vital. So he's got a thing tomorrow on Sunday. I can't get this this booking because we do need him for Arsenal and we do need him for Tottenham.
Absolutely, yeah. He's not a player that covers so much ground and he likes to get stuck in a lot.
Yeah, 100%.
He always exposes himself to a potential yellow, but I think Maresca and his team talk on Sunday needs to just almost kind of like reaffirm that maybe like if it means like not getting a yellow, let a player get past you if needed. But
there should be cover. There should be. I mean, the way that we're playing, there should be someone else there to cover that. If someone's thrown in on goal, whether it's Vardy or whoever, someone should be there. Tosin, Colwill, you've got to trust those defenders that they're going to do their job there. So, let's hope he doesn't pick it up because we do need him for Arsenal. The three in attack.
I'll let you actually go first here because I'm still trying to decide who I want.
I'm sort of thinking now in my head that I might change things around. So I don't know if you want me to go with what I will go with.
Yeah. Chalobah right back, you're thinking, or?
Yeah, I think he might have to. I think he might go. I mean, his words were quite, what's the word I'm looking for? He was adamant he wants to play Reece James in midfield. I think that's where he said he sees him playing. And I think in order to still keep Enzo in the team, and we kind of saw it yesterday with Dewsbury Hall, that it's hard to see whether he's playing on the left or in the central. He was more on the left of the three yesterday against Copenhagen. But I think we play Enzo slightly higher up. I actually don't think Nkunku would make this team for me. I would go with Palmer. And I would I go with? I'd go with I'd go with Sancho.
Neto as the 9.
And then Neto as the...
I'm not against this, but my kind of issue with this lineup is you've got 3 right backs in the team in Ep.154, Gusto and James. Yeah, you're starting a centre back at right back.
I agree with you. I agree. But I don't think he'll start with Ep.154. I don't think Malo Gusto is going to be fully fit based on how he came off, and he actually looked like he was in considerable amount of pain. And Reece James, according to Maresca, he wants to play midfield. So I'll be very shocked if he comes out and says what he said last night after the game against Copenhagen. And then plays him as a right back. I think he'll essentially he might maybe play him as the right back and then invert him into midfield. But yeah, I think his role, and especially because of his injuries, will be more of a midfielder now than we've seen probably before under any other manager. But that'll be my lineup.
Mm. Yeah, I'm not against this.
Change.
No, I'm not against this. I potentially would have James maybe right back, Enzo as the midfielder, and maybe bring in Kunku as a 10.
Yeah,
I'm not against this lineup. I do like we saw against Villa when Enzo does play in a bit more of a forward position. He is a goal threat.
Well, even yesterday, I know in the game against Copenhagen, he wasn't playing in that role essentially, but he was able to drive forward a little bit more and just get a little bit more forward and advance into those key areas and get the goal from the assist from Tyrique George. So it's hard because because we've got the players that we've got out as well. It's hard to understand who's going to play where, and you just don't know, do you? I think. But I'm not against that either. I think that's a really good lineup. Essentially, I think if he does play this lineup, and you will potentially see Enzo push a lot higher up, and then you'll see James come into that role here and maybe do what he's doing quite often.
In possession, we'll see James slot into midfield with Enzo advancing up. Yeah, I think that's definitely something we'll see. And I don't know if this does kind of play on players' minds, but usually when a player scores against a team and then plays them again, they do usually fancy themselves to score again. I know Enzo got a goal in the reverse fixture.
Yeah.
I want to bet against him not scoring on Sunday. Yeah. He's kind of found his shooting boots this season. Now the bit of criticism we had last season is he wasn't scoring enough. But this season, I feel like he's kind of added that to his game, and he is providing us with more assists, more goals. So he's one definitely. Maybe I would slowly start to kind of consider him being a successful signing under the Bowley era.
No, he definitely is. I think you look at Correa, you look at, as you said, Caicedo, Palmer, Enzo's slowly coming into that sort of role that we expected him to come into eventually. Reece James will be crucial on Sunday. I think he'll be crucially put in a man of the match performance against Copenhagen. He was a captain material, a leader. You could see it on the pitch on Thursday. So he's going to be crucial. I think wherever he plays, if it's right back, midfield, we need to keep him fit for the remainder of this season, because you can tell the difference when he's in the team, not just with his performance, but the leadership on the pitch as well for some of the younger players in that team.
Absolutely. Question for you though, given his kind of injury record and his fitness woes, he played 90 minutes on Thursday night. Mm-hmm. He doesn't do that often, Reece James. He doesn't get through 90 minutes often. Do you think playing him again on Sunday so soon after could expose him to a potential injury, or do you think it's a risk we have to take?
It's a risk we have to take, I think, because you could rest him on Sunday, play him on Thursday in the return fixture in Copenhagen, and he gets injured. So, or you could rest him against Copenhagen and he gets injured against Arsenal. I think he's just one of those players that it's unfortunate, but he's just always going to be, you're running the risk of always picking up an injury with Reece James now. And I think that's maybe where this midfield, I don't believe that. I don't believe for a second that Maresca's always wanted him in midfield. Maybe he did send a video to him, but I don't believe it, because he's always been playing him as a right back. So it doesn't really add up. But maybe that's where this midfield role's coming for him. I think that's like Rooney. When Rooney was up front for United, and I think when he went back to Everton, he was almost playing as a central defender. He was playing in that midfield role because of his injuries and because of the time in his career that he had to play there. A bit different for Reece James because he's really still younger, but to manage his minutes and manage his injuries, I think you're going to have to put him in a role, whether that's right centre back or as a midfielder, where you're not doing as much running up and down the pitch, and you're not expected to progress further up the pitch as much as possible.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's still fresh in my mind because he reshared it on his Instagram story, but we put an anniversary post for the League Cup final win over Tottenham Hotspur in 2015. And Kazuma played in midfield that day.
Yeah, he did.
If I remember correctly. It's a centre back in midfield, and I think it was and it did work out well. We got a clean sheet, and if I remember, he bullied some of the Tottenham players throughout that day at Wembley. So it could be a bit of a masterclass from Maresca if he sees Reece James' abilities being a bit more suited to midfield in the system rather than right back. I do worry that we might not have to cover at right back to deal with his the void that he'll kind of he'll leave should he play a different position. But yeah, if it means him not being injured and him,
I just about to ask that.
Yeah, we need him on the pitch. He's the captain. We can't afford to not play him in these knockout games and not play him against Arsenal or not play him in a must-win Premier League game against Leicester. It's too important to win.
He needs to be playing. He needs to be playing. He's not just because he's one of the highest earners, but because he's the most. As crazy as it sounds, he's one of the most experienced players in that Chelsea squad.
Yeah,
and that's what it comes down to. He's one of the most experienced players in our Chelsea squad. Can't remember how old he is. Is he 20, 24, 25?
Yeah.
Might be slightly younger.
But he's the only player that's still remaining from that Lampard season as well. That first Lampard season in 2019.
I mean, that tells you everything.
Yeah. So when you say experience, 100%, he's the most experienced in this Chelsea team in terms of players that know the club, that have worked in the different systems, different managers, have been at Cobham for the longest as well. And that right now is Reece James. Yeah.
So he has to play. He has to play. But predictions. You were spot on Thursday. Can we make it a double?
You were spot on for the Southampton game, if I'm not mistaken, as well, weren't you?
Did I say 4-0? Yeah. I said 4-0.
I think you did, yeah. So I'm going to go 3-0 Chelsea. I have to back myself this time after everything I've said on this podcast about being confident and a must win. So yeah, 3-0 Chelsea.
I think 3-1. I think they will score, and that's only because of our defensive woes that we've had this season. I just think we will gift a goal to Leicester. But I think going forward, I think it'll be an easy game for us. I'll be very surprised if Leicester come and show us up and turn up and suddenly want to perform after all the defeats and, as I said, 19th in the league and, conceding 12 in the last 4 games. I can't see them coming to Stamford Bridge and getting anything from the game but a goal. So I'm going to go 3-1.
Yeah, I'll take it. I mean, it'd be nice to get a clean sheet, but if we can score 3 and get 3 points, then I'm not going to complain either.
Well, we've got some big games, as you keep saying. Tottenham, Arsenal coming up. I think Liverpool's not too far down the line. I know it's not a big game, but it's always a difficult game against Everton. I'm sure we finish. I think we've got United coming up, have we, as well? I'm sure we've got some.
Forest away on the final day of the season as well. It's going to be a tough one. Yeah.
So there's not many games. I mean, someone was telling me yesterday, there's actually not that many games left in the Premier League. I was like,
there's not that many games left, and I think a lot of our remaining games are tough. Newcastle away as well.
Newcastle away.
Tough one. So
if we play them before the final, it'd be brilliant. I don't think we do.
The finals on the 6th.
It's only next week. We don't then, do we? I was going to say it'd be lovely to play them before the final because their eyes are going to be on that final. But yeah. Well. You win some, you lose some. We should be able to beat Newcastle. Let's have it right with Chelsea. Chelsea football club.
Just straight past Copenhagen. Let's try to.
Let's lower the bar a little bit. Let's lower the bar.
Isak against our defense is a bit worrying as well.
Yeah. Let's not. Let's get through Leicester first. Let's just think about Leicester. But yeah, Theo, it was always pleasure. It's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining me. If you haven't already, as I said before, please subscribe to the channel. Please let us know your thoughts in the comments as well. Don't forget to do that. And the Linktree link is in the description. So make sure you hit the Linktree link, follow the social accounts. We will have a match review of the game afterwards as well. So make sure you tune in for that on Sunday. And until then, enjoy the rest of the week and we will be back soon. Thank you very much for listening or watching if you're on YouTube.